Welcome, NASCAR race fans far and wide around the globe. I'm Hoppy Mellow. I'm here with the Off the Chain podcast and my Chain Gang crew, ready to talk about a wild Texas six-shooting race that we had, rootin' tootin' shooting from Texas. Lots of action to break down. First, out of the staticky interwebs comes a crystal clear Checky Swags. How you doing this evening?
I am fired up, Hoppy. So don't get me started. I'm going to come right through the phone. That's all I'm going to say. We'll talk about that a little later.
You've been warned, Willie. Willie T-Bone Hadley, who lives to poke the bear and run and hide, is here with us this evening. Willie, how you living? You T-boned up tonight?
All right. Now, tonight was New York Strip.
Oh, okay.
I want to say, Jeff Gluck, I'm not a dumbass, but I do think it was partially Bubba's fault that Larson wrecked.
Is that good? You know, I did not know there was an acronym called DARF. I think I had heard it in the past. I've been like, what is that? But now I think I've been educated to understand that DARF means dumbass race fan. Is that correct?
That was a DBC thing.
Yeah, and when they would say it on DBC, I wouldn't know what it stood for, and I just went on about my business and forgot about it.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So am I correct? It stands for dumbass race fan?
Yeah.
Correct.
Oh, okay.
And Jeff Gluck can kiss my butt. I think it's like they was like 50% fault each, so I'm half a dumbass.
So are we talking about Jeff Gluck asserting that Bubba and Kyle Larson racing hard there, Kyle Larson spinning out? He's saying that was 100% Kyle Larson's fault?
No, well, he said you're a dumbass if you think it was Bubba's fault.
Okay. Because if we had to divide up the blame there as to, you know, who was how much responsible, I would say it was like 70-30 Larson. Checky, what's your percentage on that? You agree, 70-30?
I think that sounds fair. I mean, my heartstrings pull, like they tug, you know what I mean? They want me to go more 60-40 for sure. But you know, proximity and I think Kyle's got great car control, but I mean, I don't know. It's just a crapshoot sometimes.
So they were on the restart there at the end of the race. They're racing down into turn one. Bubba's on the outside. He does what the outside car needs to do right there, which is stays on the door of the inside car to make it harder for that inside car to do what they want. And Larson snaps around and backs it into the wall with the fastest car on the track. And, you know, I thought Larson's interview was commendable because a lot of drivers in that exact same situation that wrecked out right there would just find something to whine about or point the finger at. And Larson, you know, told it like it was, which I think he usually does in general. So I thought, you know, that was a good interview from Larson, and he basically just said he didn't expect the car to get loose underneath Bubba there, and it did. And once it does, man, it's gone. Like, there's no saving it, obviously, because if anybody could save it, it would be Larson. So
I'm just glad he's okay, because that hit was brutal.
Yeah, it did not look fun.
Man, I'm glad he's all right, because I mean, he's a racing national treasure.
Yeah, and it looked like the kind of situation where, you know, it was just a little bit of a lack of patience there because Larson had the best car and Bubba had a really good car too. I mean, these were the two cars that basically dominated the race. And I understand why Larson didn't want to give any ground, but what he basically said in his interview afterward was he should have been a little bit more patient because he probably, if he would have just ran, you know, side by side with Bubba and not been quite as aggressive, he would have just ended up clearing him and getting by him anyway. So, yeah, that's what Larson realized in retrospect. What Bubba realized in retrospect a couple of restarts later when Bubba didn't hang on to the lead, he was racing with, was it William Byron, I believe? He tried to...
Right? They went 3 wide.
Byron went 3 wide to get by Chase Briscoe, and Bubba Wallace switched into like plate track blocking lines, like and tried to run William Byron down. Realized he couldn't block him all the way, but then that caused him to take a shallow entry into the turn, and that messed him up for center speed in the center of the corner, where William Byron sort of had a better entry slash plan for how to rotate the center of the turn. And that's what allowed William Byron to scoot by Bubba right there. And what Bubba realized was he shouldn't have ran William so far down. He should have just ran his line and got a good run into the turn and been able to stay on William's door right there, just like he did to Larson. And I thought that's what we were getting ready to see. I was wondering, yelling at my TV, is Bubba going to facilitate the wrecking of 2 Hendrick cars today? And I thought that's what we were going to see, but we did not. And Bubba brought it home in third place, to which he got out of the car and said he choked. So, Willie, you know something about choking the chicken? Do you think Bubba choked right there?
Well, I was kind of paying attention there, and I think you forgot to mention the Chase Briscoe part. Like they lost all his momentum racing Briscoe, and that's how the 24 was able to get like such a good run, and then just basically, I don't think Bub really had a chance.
Well, no, but if you watch that replay, he drove it in trying to block, and that's what messed him up for his center speed. See, if Bubba swings out and enters wide right there, he can carry more speed through that turn overall, and Byron was already entering kind of low. So I think if Bubba doesn't get overly focused on trying to block Byron, he probably stays on Byron's door off the turn.
Yeah, maybe, but like I said, it seems like he was so screwed from having to get out of it messing with Briscoe.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt Byron had a good run, but yeah, I think he could have approached the corner better, and that's what he was saying. He choked on and just realized. Now, if you listen to Denny Hamlin's podcast today, Denny Hamlin was saying that he was disappointed to see Bubba choose the outside on those restarts, because he thought you want to be on the inside and have the option to run the outside car up the track towards the wall, which Denny has done to Larson and Denny has done to Chastain. So Denny likes to, get the nose in front of the other car on the inside and just use up the track and force them to back out. So I'm sure that's what Hamlin is telling Bubba he should have done. Checky, what do you think? Did you agree with Bubba choosing the outside every time, or you agree with Denny?
Well, I mean, it's hard not to agree with Denny in terms of like it's effective. I don't particularly like that mindset or that strategy. I think it's not. I think it's all about the results and not about the like the means to an end kind of thing. And I don't really like or appreciate that. And I don't think it's good for a lot of situations, causes a lot of trouble. And hopefully not injuries and, just like bad blood and stuff like that. I think it's not necessary. I think we've talked about this, I feel like ad nauseum. Bubba, I think, well, I hope for his sake, he makes it to this point to be like someone that's not as easily rattled. Because I do feel like he gets inside his head, and I'm sure Freddie's doing a good job and his crew chief of just kind of talking him through some things, but I feel like he gets too like frazzled, and I think but we've seen a lot of guys veteran guys make big kind of like bonehead mistakes. I mean, Denny's made a handful, Kyle makes some, just clearly there's a lot of like knee-jerk reaction things that you have to make immediate decisions. I just like Bubba is one to struggle with these kinds of things, and he's one that if there's going to be an overdrive, it'll be him. Just kind of like calm down, take a moment, or the race gets away from you and you can't get it back, right? Because I don't remember what lap we're talking. 20 laps to go at one point, and 6 laps. I mean, these are small chunks of races here, and you've just got to be able to kind of endure for that first part of the restart, and then collect your thoughts and go get them, kind of thing. Otherwise, Larson, what do you have, like a 4-second lead at one point before that caution?
Yeah, I think it was 5 or 6 seconds.
Crazy, right? Crazy. And that's just like, obviously that's a big bonehead move for him. And hopefully it doesn't end up hurting him, because we know, the next week is a total crapshoot, and then he's got to come back and at least, we don't know what's going to happen, but he's got to clinch after that to move through. So, I mean, a lot of guys had a not great day, and they're hurting in points.
Yeah. Yeah, we're going to break all that down for sure. I mean, I thought it was a interesting, entertaining race. I thought we got the race that Texas is capable of producing right now with this car, which is, it was still pretty single file as far as the main groove. There wasn't a lot of ability for the drivers to, go where the other guy's not, and that's because of I'll call it unique characteristics of the surface at Texas. And so I think this is kind of frustrating for the drivers, but what I care about is, how entertaining is the race. And, we did get a string of cautions that allowed for things to get fairly interesting. I was pretty surprised on I guess it was the third to last caution that shook everything up, I believe, that when we had 14 cars stay out and not even come to pit road, I was really surprised more cars didn't pit. And then that forced the cars that did pit to only take 2 tires for track position. And then when you've got only a 2-tire advantage, it helped those guys, but it's not like they were dramatically faster. They said there was a total of about 0.8 or 0.9 seconds of fall off on the tires. So certainly if you got 7 or 8 tenths on the guy in front of you based on tire fall off, you're going to pass him. But it doesn't make it easy with the way these cars are and the way Texas is. So I think everybody was really, just out to get and keep track position. We do need to talk about Ross Chastain and Trackhouse, because they surprised me with their race going into the weekend. The handicappers had convinced me that Trackhouse is going to be good because they got to be part of the tire test at Texas. And so they had some good data on it. Plus, Suarez has a tendency to finish in the top 10 there in terms of his better tracks. And then Suarez spun out, and I was like, well, there goes that for Suarez finishing in the top 10. And early in the race, Chastain has the throttle sensor issue and ends up running back in like 29th or 30th, and I thought he was going to be done for. Next thing you know, I look down at the final finishing order, Willie, and Chastain brings it home in like second, and I'll be damned if Suarez didn't get in the top 10. I think he finished 8th or 9th.
Yeah.
So
that's crazy. Not expecting that either. I thought he was done.
Yeah. But Willie, is this an isolated Trackhouse incident of a good top 10 finish?
I don't know about Chastain, but I was convinced Suarez spun out on purpose to get his car on TV. Because I mean, who the hell does that? Like, he's spinning out right there. It wasn't like the pit road just like comes up on you. And like, did the crew chief tell him at the last second? Like, what the hell?
Did he pull a Reddick? Although Reddick isn't the one that spun out. It was my guy behind him a couple weeks ago that spun out to avoid him for doing some crazy shit on pit road or trying to get to pit road. I don't even know what his sponsor was, Willie. It wasn't effective. I don't remember it.
It was Kubota Tractors.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we had Suarez spin out, but we had guys, really take themselves out of it for various reasons. Austin Dillon finished last. He spun out on it, I think, on his own, I believe. Todd Gilliland wrecked out in the 51 car this week. He was driving instead of the 38. Kyle Busch, who it looked like was going to have a strong run, has something weird going on with the tire, ends up not pitting for it. Next thing you know, he's spinning out and wrecking. And then Kyle Busch, the laugh of the day came when Kyle Busch drove it back to pit road backwards. Is that like the second time he's done something like that, I feel like?
He's definitely done that before. But let's go back to what you said at first, Hoppy. You started talking about Austin Dillon. His tire, flew off. Everything.
Oh, that's right. The whole wheel came off.
That was the first caution, right? That was brutal. He took a huge smack.
Yeah, driver's
driver,
side.
awful, just terrible. I'm glad, thankfully he's okay. He's like, obviously he was disappointed. They're gonna God, and that's what happened right to Gilliland. Had a wheel come off
Yeah.
also.
Yep.
And then of course, KB's tire issue, and it just that track and the speeds they're running, and holy hell, it helped these guys. I'm so glad that everybody's okay, because the hits are just brutal there. I'm just thankful everybody's all right. But obviously penalties coming, and not so much the money that's the problem, but the suspensions and just the penalty overall. It's unfortunate. I'm glad. I wish we would have been counting and keeping track, because I'm really glad that this change to one lug is so much more effective and easier and better for everybody than the 5 they've had for like ever. Carry on.
Well, Willie will remember this, I'm sure. Willie, you remember back in the 90s, you were listening to West Side Connection, right?
Is that a rap group? What is that?
Yeah, with Ice Cube, man. West Side Connection. West Side. 90s, baby.
Radio shop.
I remember Ice Cube was talking about cop killers.
Not wrong. Right, that's the wrong version of Ice Cube right there.
Or is that Ice-T?
No, yeah, that's Ice-T.
Ice acting now, right? Isn't he? Is he the one on Law and Order? I always get them all mixed up.
Okay.
Who's what?
Point being, West Side Connection song. All right, it's called Number 3, 3-time felons, and they'd be saying, "We rollin' till the wheels fall off." So I think Austin Dillon needs to quit cranking the West Side Connection in his 3-car and focus on driving. Or
I
somebody.
thought it was the free 3 they get.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is.
They're in the damn Kyle Kush before the race, and they don't leave the wheels loose.
Yeah.
Because these nazzleberries or whatever.
So, in the string of casualties in this race, I already mentioned that Kyle Busch, drives down the pit road backwards, isn't able to get any repairs done, and he's out in 34th. Really screwed his round in the playoffs up, although he's not so far out of it that he can't make it up, but he's going to have to be on it these next 2 weeks for sure. Now, Kyle Busch did win Talladega earlier this year in that 8-car, and he was fast at the Daytona 500 and almost won that. So, I don't see any reason why he can't go out and advance, but he's going to need to turn the luck factor around for sure, because it has not been good for him. And then you got Ty Gibbs finishing 33rd, who doesn't apparently know what clear one lane out means on pit road, I guess, because he drove right into Denny Hamlin, right? Clobbered his right front.
Crazy. That was just a bizarre, just to watch that. It's like one of those things you like. It's like the slow motion. You can't believe that's happening, and when it's done, you're like, "What the fuck just happened there?"
Yeah.
That definitely should not have happened. That was crazy.
Yeah, that was. So Ty Gibbs took himself out, and Denny was really lucky that it only bashed his driver's side door in on that side, because I mean, if Denny had gotten hit with that amount of force in either of the wheels, his day would have been done too.
Oh, for sure.
It might have helped. You remember they used to do that on purpose, where the jack guy would try to slam his butt into the side of the car to put a dent?
Yeah, but this wasn't a dent. This was a straight up hole in it. I mean, Denny said on his podcast today that, they were still running top 5 times with the damage, but before that they were faster. So it definitely hurt him. I think if all things being equal, if that hadn't happened on pit road, we probably would have seen, the 11 versus the 5 up front, more than likely. But, this is what we want. We want things to happen that are unexpected. Eric Jones, super strong again. I don't know what they put in the water over at Legacy Motorsports, but it must be coming from Toyota, because they're not supposed to be running good without any Chevy support right now, given that they're switching to Toyota next year. And I'm surprised that Eric Jones has been continually putting these fast cars out there up in the top 10. And I mean, it's not like Carson Hocevar. It's not like he's doing bad either as his teammate. He had another solid run too. So what's the scouting report on Legacy, Checky?
I don't know what's going on over there, but I imagine that they were not comfortable with their situation and pretty much sucking. Not that they were way like at the very back of the pack, but I mean they were not good. And I mentioned it's not a very comfortable place for that particular group in Jimmy Johnson. So they had to do something. Now, where is that something coming from? You know, they've got some connections. I'm sure they can work some things out. But yeah, I saw Jimmy comment on, you know, how hard they've been working at Legacy and glad to see the results. And I mean, Carson, I just can't speak highly enough about what he's been able to do in his short stint there, and certainly, you know, making a name for himself. I think he got into a little bit of trouble this weekend, kind of bumping in the wall a little bit, but he's not the only one. So, I mean, just super, super cool headed, making good decisions, giving what the car or taking what the car gives him kind of thing. So that kid, even though they've already obviously lined up their driver for next year and he doesn't have a spot there, he's certain like this is a great audition. It probably couldn't be going any better, honestly, for him. So he's going to remain in the forefront. And it's interesting to think we talked about Noah, and obviously he's out there, but like Carson has got to be ahead of Noah at this point, right? In the running. Forget about Noah's not in a car right now, but even if he was, his performance was not amazing, and Carson is coming in and doing some decent work. So tough competition for these Cup rides for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. You know, we've been harping on this podcast about the importance of the stage points and how much that means to these drivers for their finishes. Let me just put that in perspective for you real quick. Bubba Wallace, who led 111 laps, managed to get himself a whopping 3 stage points. 3. Between both stages, even after leading 111 laps, because he finished stage 1 in 10th and stage 2 in 9th, which is really a big miss. And so Bubba was distraught about not winning the race, and obviously a win puts you through. So, you know, a win is the biggest thing. But right up there next to that win is killing it in the stages. And for him to lead 111 laps and only get 3 stage points is a huge miss, because, let me put that in perspective. Bubba finished 3rd, right, in the race. He finished with only 37 points for a 3rd place finish because he got so few stage points. If I go all the way down to, where's he at? Tyler Reddick. Tyler Reddick finished 25th, but still has 22 points for finishing 25th. Why? Because of stage points. So that's huge. And honestly, none of the guys up front none of the guys that ended up finishing up front got a lot of the stage points because of the way things got jumbled up on those pit stops there. So it really spread the points out in odd ways. For example, Chris Buescher finished 14th, but scored 38 points. Chris Buescher finished 14th and scored 1 more point in the race than Bubba finishing 3rd and leading 111 laps.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't, obviously it's not like, it doesn't make his race like not worthwhile, but like I agree with you, Hoppy. It was a huge miss. And I know how much it would mean to win. And when you have that good of a car and you know you're capable, it makes sense that that's what you're shooting for. But the reality is there are, like, look at what happened to Larson. Like, did anybody think that particular scenario was going to play out that way? No, like Kyle Larson on top of the world, right? Gonna win this race theoretically, and boom, the next moment he's gone, right? So why they don't take the opportunity to get those stage points, especially when you know that you don't have any for this season, not any,
Yeah.
but you already like got like nothing. Why don't you secure that and make you? It's not a guarantee you're gonna move on, but it puts you in such a better position. Yes, you might have to work a little harder and maybe you don't have as good of an opportunity to win, but you have a great car. So rely on your pit crew and the rest of your strategy, at least get a stage worth of points and go from there. I don't know.
Seriously. Yeah. I'm in agreement with you. Hell, even Ryan Blaney, whose day was looking really good for a while, like he was really going to capitalize, and then it threw it all out when he got in that accident. He ended up finishing 28th. Right? So 8 spots away from dead last. Ryan Blaney finishes 28th, but he still collected 20 points because of his finishing position and stage finishes. So and then once again, I still say we're not getting enough coverage on where people are getting their points and how big a deal it is, because it really does determine so much about where these standings end up. And the standings really did get, quite interesting, because even though Ross Chastain had a good run, he didn't get that many stage points. So with that second place finish, you would think, oh man, Ross really launched himself into the standings. No, Ross is only 12 points above the cutoff right now. Keselowski was on the outside looking in, so he helped himself a little bit. He's now 7th, 8 points above the cutoff. Larson now falls all the way to 2 points above the cutoff. Now, Larson didn't have all that many playoff points, so now we're seeing that thin margin for error really come into play. And I just want to remind everybody that I picked Larson and Reddick to be eliminated in this round, along with Blaney and Wallace. And Reddick's on the outside looking in by 3 points. Blaney's out by 11 points. Bubba's out by 2 points currently. So, and Larson's on the bubble. So the guys that, and of course Kyle Busch is 17 out. So, but I'm not surprised to see any of these guys here at the bottom of the standings, because they're all guys that have had consistency issues. And I tell you who's going to join them next in the fight for the bottom? Probably Christopher Bell.
Well, he's sitting kind of pretty right now.
Yeah, but it's Dega.
But listen, look, we haven't even talked about Truex. He freaking spun again. Right?
Oh, Truex, listen, Truex has him right where he wants him now. Okay. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because nobody's paying any attention to what he's doing anymore, because he's just, and look, I get it. I don't know how much it has to do with the team, the car, his mindset. Don't tell me that this whole Sherry thing doesn't, I mean, I get it. He's like stoic and maybe he's moved on and all that shit, but like, God, that's got to rattle you a little bit.
Yeah, I'm sure it was not helping.
Like, oh Lord, just tough. It's just like, you're just waiting for him to rebound, right? And he just doesn't have these kinds of mistakes. And it's like, oh man, this is just, it's not looking. I mean, I don't know. You would know, Hoppy. You're probably looking at. I didn't write the points for the first eight.
He's plus 19 in 5th.
Okay, all right. Well, 19 is a good sign, so maybe he'll be all right. But man, it's just.
Here's why I'm not worried about Martin.
Okay, why?
Because right now, and still at this stage of the playoffs, you still got all these other bastards that are gonna take themselves out of it. So I'm still feeling good about Martin getting through this round. Now, if he's in a wreck early at Talladega and gets no stage points and that's all that happens, obviously that's worst case scenario. But usually what happens with the plate races with Martin is he actually runs good in the first 2 stages and does well, and then it's something always goes wrong for him in the 3rd stage. So if he can collect, 15, 16 stage points at Talladega, and and then all he needs to do is just basically not wreck, and then it'd be a solid day. And I think that's all he needs. But that's stage points at Talladega are a cluster. So it'll be really interesting to see how that shakes out, because there is so much sort of chance and luck at Dega as to who's going to get those stage points. But as important as that is, with them racing to the stage caution, we could see a wreck at Dega going to the stage caution. That would be unfortunate, but I think we could see it this year.
So what's your history? If you're Larson and those guys on the cut line, do you go in for stage points or not?
I just can't see why you wouldn't. I mean, the stage points are so valuable, along with the track position, that and the wrecks are coming from anywhere, really. I mean, unless you are out front with nobody by you, that's the only safe position. And we all know at Dega, you don't stay in that spot very long. So I think you go out there, you qualify as good as you can, you race as hard as you can, and smart. But you try to also, if I'm Toyota, I kind of want my drivers as Toyotas working together in little batches. Like I almost want 3 Toyotas were connected and pushing, and then another 3 Toyotas connected and pushing. I don't know that I want all 6 right together in the same spot, but
you want all the eggs in the basket.
no, not necessarily. But I want to see. I think this could be one of those times where we see increased manufacturer teamwork out there, just trying to stay safe. But we'll see.
So do you think that we are going to see a race, at least initially, where folks are minding their P's and Q's until we get a little closer to the end of the first stage when it really matters? Or what are you anticipating?
I'm not really thinking. I mean, I don't. There's going to be enough guys out there that really want to get out there and get the stage points, and they know that the track position is so important with this car and the way it drafts. And Talladega is a wider track than Daytona. I mean, remember how crazy Daytona was with just taking it 3 wide, and stuff like that, and how hard people were racing. I think we're going to see some hard racing. I'd be surprised if it was, follow the leader at Dega.
What say you, Willie? What do you got?
We'll see. I mean, I think at Daytona, a lot of it was because people were saving fuel and made a 3rd lane. So
yeah, that was definitely a factor. And the way they've been running these races with the fuel strategy, that could end up happening again too, honestly. But I thought, overall the weekend at Texas put on some exciting races. The Xfinity race at Texas was highly entertaining.
It was good racing. I mean, I think the quality of the races there, regardless of whether you like the outcome personally, I think the racing has been really good. Very enjoyable.
Yeah, it was definitely entertaining. Now, I heard talk that they're going to move the Texas race to the spring next year. So that could shake some stuff up. And I think what we're going to see, personally, you tell me if you agree, guys, but if you take Texas out, then I think what you're doing if you're NASCAR is you're putting a road course into the Final 10, because they're going to take away Roval and bring it back to the oval at Charlotte next year, I believe, because there's been chirping for that. They couldn't do it this year, but I think we'll see that next year. Back to the oval for the playoffs at Charlotte. But you want to get a road course in there. So here's what I think we see. Since Chicago is such a success, I think we either see Chicago potentially move to the playoff spot, although that's probably unlikely due to contractual planning issues with them already planning on it for next year. So what I actually think is going to happen is that NASCAR is going to add a second street course to the playoffs for next year, and that they'll go street course racing somewhere that they wouldn't normally be able to race and do it in the playoffs.
Like what city?
Where does NASCAR really want to get to for a street course in late summer? Wouldn't they want to try to go maybe somewhere northeast, ideally?
Manhattan.
I don't know if they can pull off that, but I mean, what if they could pull off something near there?
Here, put a street course in versus like a regular road course they usually use, like the Glen, if you're going to push it back a little.
No, see, I think, yeah, keep in mind, Checky, they're going back to the Brickyard Oval also.
Right.
So we were at 6 road courses this year. I think I think the sweet spot is 2 street courses and 3 road courses. I think that's what we're going to see, with 1 street course in the playoffs replacing Texas.
I definitely disagree. I mean, I don't disagree that they could do it. I don't like the idea of a wild card in the actual playoffs. If you want to put a road course in the playoffs, that's fine. Push the Glen in there. It's close enough time-wise to what they're usually floating around in the schedule. That's just too much crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I thought about that too, Checky, but that doesn't really fit NASCAR's recent moves in terms of their MO. Now we did have, what was it, the back-to-back road course races? Wasn't that was at Indy and Watkins Glen this year, right? But next year it'll be Indy will be back on the oval, so that part's not going to be a problem again with back-to-back road courses. So I think that's what we see. Now Texas in the spring, do they draw as good a crowd? I don't know, but they could certainly use a Texas date earlier in the year when the weather doesn't suck, when it's not too hot. I mean, like, wasn't the first Atlanta race like cold this year?
Yes. Oh, I mean, in general, it has been known to be cold.
What's that?
It's February.
Yeah. So what they need to do is they need to go to Texas instead of Atlanta early in the year for the spring, and then you let Atlanta get a little bit later date, but still have a spring date.
Yeah, generally, if they could stay away from the 100-degree days, even if the demographic is used to it, that's it's a little rough.
Yeah. No, it was definitely hot, and I honestly thought the heat would help the quality of the racing more than it appeared to. I think it's just that track. It was really the name of the name of the game was mistakes all the way around, and maybe the heat had some indirect effect on that, obviously, but
too hot to tighten the lug nuts.
Yeah.
That too. Can we talk for a moment about the true story of this race, because it hasn't come up yet and it's really bothering me. So we all know what happened at the very end, how William Byron kind of sort of came out of nowhere and passed Bubba and took off and rode into the sunset. But can we talk about the ridiculous big hat that keeps making an appearance? Because I just am struggling with this so much. I mean, it was like weird and kind of cute. Okay, I could roll with that at first. And now it's just like, I am having a hard time with it.
I swear to God, they between that and Jeff Gordon's vests, I thank God Rick Hendrick didn't have a vest on today, at Texas in 100 degrees, but he still had on a big ass white button down shirt and pants. I mean,
so Mr. H hat.
Rick Hendrick probably sweated enough during that race wearing that outfit to fill up one of those hats.
Oh man, oh Lord, I don't know. And at the end of the race, when William won, and you can hear the radio and like tons of enthusiasm and excitement, and I was listening, and I'm like, that's not William. That's not William. You know what I mean? I don't know. I'm struggling with all the things. Congratulations to him. Obviously, it clinches him to the next round, and it's super exciting. But we've got to do something about that hat. It's just not.
Yeah. No, I mean, the right thing, seriously though, is to retire it after this. After this year.
Season.
Yeah.
Yeah. Please. It's just not working. I'm sorry.
Now.
Go bigger. We need a bigger hat, I think.
Like a 10-gallon hat, like that, like it would be huge.
Double down on it, right, Willie?
I mean, you're in Texas. You totally could have gotten away with that. Like a big foam one that's like almost like, not to scale his size because he is a little bit smaller guy, but just huge.
Well, what if big hat had a bigger hat on?
Oh yeah. The plot thickens. But no, if they come back with that shit next year, I'm just gonna be like, come on, guys, you gotta know when to hold them, know when to fold them.
Laid out.
Yeah. Now we have been on a little run these past couple weeks here of the good race poll being within a point of last year's good race poll for these playoffs. So.
Which is why Hoppy then has an advantage because he looks all that shit up.
I'm gonna tell you what it is right now. At Kansas this year, 86.6. Last year, 87.6. Bristol this year, 61.6. Last year, 60.3. Now my note here says Texas last year was a 13.6.
Oh wow.
I don't remember it being that bad.
do we know what happened? That is really fucking bad. Wow. Wow.
Remember that was the race where there was a whole bunch of tire failures, but I found
Oh
it to be quite entertaining.
gosh. Okay. Yeah, that's pretty terrible. Yeah.
So I doubt we're gonna be at a 13.6 for this race. It was way too interesting for that.
Oh yeah.
So it is hard to predict. Now, the other thing I did for you guys was I totaled up the standings. I mean, we're getting close to the end of the year, so I wanted to total up kind of where we were actually on picking these good race polls. And Checky, I'm sorry to say, but you're all but eliminated.
Well, no, but that's just because you don't want to count the things I won because y'all cheated.
Even if I count those, you're just not looking good. I've got 13. Willie's got 10, surprisingly. He started off the year getting the first 4 right in a row, Willie did. So that helped him. He's got 10. And Checky, you're bringing up the rear with 6.
But 6 is a good number.
Yeah. So now to be fair though, there are 7 races to go. So it is possible if Checky, if you win out from here, you could take the title home. So you
That's right. I am not mathematically eliminated.
Yeah, you're still alive.
You're saying there's a chance.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Noted.
All right. So I got to try and guess this thing, and I am really not sure where to go with this as far as good race poll. I do think that it won't be as well received as Kansas. I think people, just look. There's more people that look negatively upon Texas because of how bad it has been. And it's hard to say how good it can get with this kind of poll. I want to say, a lot of people aren't going to like that Bubba did what he did in that race, but he also didn't win. I don't think it's going to be as good as it should be, so I'm going to go. I want to go low 70s, but I'm going to go 69 for Willie. 69.69. Willie. And Willie, actually, you have the next guess.
All right. Well, I was thinking, I listened to the Heat Ear Down and Gluck went really low. So that's going to make me go lower than your 69, even though I thought it was pretty. I mean, shit happened. I mean, that's what you want when you watch a race.
That's what I'm saying.
And shit did happen. But Gluck, he's usually got his finger on the pulse, and he went lower, like way lower. So I'm going to go 65 then. I'll give you a little buffer.
All right. You going to try to thread the needle there, Checky, or you go on one side or the other? It puts you in an interesting predicament.
Listen, it's no predicament. I say screw you guys. I'm going higher because I don't fucking care what Gluck says or his minions because it was a good race. And I'm sorry. Like, what do you people want? Like, I don't understand. So I'll go out on a limb. I'm going to go higher. I don't care if nobody else agrees. I'd want to go higher yet. My answer would be like in the higher 80s, but I will come down because I can. So I'll give you some buffer, Hoppy. I like you better than Willie because Willie's mean to me, more than you are, I should say. So I will give you a little bit of room and go with a 72, 6 because 6 is a good number.
All right, you should have gone the other way on it, Checky. The current result is 59.6.
But it's just ridiculous. I'm sorry. Come on. It's just, this is, when I say incredible, I don't mean amazing. I mean not credible. Like,
right.
It's just, like, what the fuck? Like, come on now.
Yeah, 59.6. Obviously, a big improvement over last year. But Willie collects another win and tightens it further. It's now 13 me and 11 Willie.
That's some bullshit. I protest.
All right. Now on the race winner pick side, Checky, you were close by picking Larson. He almost had it there. I had the 11, who was looking good until he wasn't, and then Willie had the 20, who had a better day than he's been having, but wasn't really racing for the win. So we whiffed again. In fact, just to rub it in a little bit, in case you want to know how bad we are at this lately, supposed experts that we are, or whatever the hell you think we are, we are now 1 for the last 17. 1 for the last 17.
17 is also good for Daryl Waltrip. Thank you.
Last 17 races, we get to pick any 3 fucking cars we want. And 17 times, out of 17 times, we've only picked the right one once. That's how hard NASCAR is, folks.
I like how you're riding on my coattails, Hoppy.
Yeah, that was you, Jackie.
That's the only reason I said that.
In the win standings, Checky, you have 4 wins on the year. I have 3 wins on the year. Willie remains a perfect winless 0. So, Willie, who's going to do it at Talladega? Or should I say, who's going to not do it?
I usually like to take dark horses, but I'm just going to say, just give me BK.
You bastard. All right. That's the only person I was going to pick, so now I don't know.
What? Seriously? You didn't prepare anybody else?
No, now I got to think about it.
Okay.
I
guess.
Boucher.
Yeah, it could go the other way, and I'll just have to go the other way on it.
Blaney.
And go with the 17. See if Boucher can. But hey, he won at Daytona.
God.
They were both leading at the Daytona 500.
Fine.
Checky, who you got?
All right. I've crossed 2 of the drivers off my list now because both of those were on it. I really don't like the other driver on there that I have because I just don't think he'll be able to keep his shit together the whole race. And we're not. I wasn't even.
Can't pick Bubba.
No, I wouldn't. No, well, definitely not. No, I'm not steering completely away from that shit. I'm gonna go with a guy who has a very solid chance because he just does. Denny. Got to go with Denny.
All right. We keep frequently picking Denny, and we haven't hit one of his wins except for Checky at Pocono. Although, actually, I did get him at Kansas, so I guess we're not doing too bad. All right. Who won that race? Oh, yeah. William Byron. He
did. Big hat.
All right. So, let's see. What other headlines we got from the last week? I don't think I have any to call out today, Checky, so maybe you can jog my memory on some other racing headlines.
Well, I already kind of mentioned this, but the Wheel and Modifieds are coming to North Wilkesboro Speedway this weekend, running Saturday night and charging too much in ticket fees, but the race seems to be fairly priced. Followed by the Smart Modified Series will be running on Sunday. So that's obviously different series, but a lot of the guys will be competing in both. And that's going to be taking place in Fair Lawn, Virginia, at Pulaski Motorsports Park. So there'll be some good racing, either in person or on Flow, for those who are going to check it out. Dale Jr. is finally going to get his ass to what's referred to as a wing sprint race, although I just refer to them as sprint races. And that's actually going to be taking place tomorrow, and we should be able to watch that on Flow Racing as well. They'll be racing at Lernerville Speedway for Kyle Larson and Brad Sweet's High Limit Series with $50,000 to win. So should be exciting, and hopefully, I'm sure you can't go to one of those races and not enjoy it and have a good time. It's just not possible. That racing is phenomenal. So y'all should be checking that out. Willie, I think you are the one who sent me a text, and it was a tweet of some ass whoopings that were taking place at Martinsville Speedway, and Cup wasn't even there. What was going on this weekend there?
Some kind of a row of, what would you call it? I give my thesaurus, other word for fight.
Well,
A ballywick?
A melee? Would you call it a melee?
Uh,
I don't think it had enough people to be a melee.
But the 42 car got damaged. Did you see that? They landed on the car.
I didn't go back and watch it. I really need to do that. I had that ready to run on Flow, but I just wasn't able to, like, when I was watching it was daytime and they were like doing interviews and different things. I'm like, I'll come back to this later, and I ended up not doing it. So I will go back and watch it. But I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, it was after the second heat race that things got a little wild in the pits.
Yeah, it was during the day.
Yeah.
But yeah, the 42 car, they got his hood crushed in, and then it was funny that people were trying to fix it like 20 seconds later.
Like the guys that were working.
Yeah.
I love that about guys. Y'all can just not have grudges, and I wouldn't be doing that.
Well, I don't know if people trying to fix it were involved in the fight. That was the problem too. They were innocent bystanders.
Gotcha. So I do know that after that race, the actual race itself, it was the Valley Star 300, which is a huge late model race, brings everybody to town. Travis Ward won the race and brought home $32,000 and the coveted grandfather clock. So congratulations to him. You were saying, or you sent something to Willie about this North Carolina state budget that just passed, better late than never, and $4 million is going into Marcus's pocket. Is that what you told me?
That's what they said. It's a miscarriage of justice.
It is a miscarriage of justice. You're going to charge me all this extra money for ticket fees. Give me a break. So I have to pay for tickets. We have to pay for camping. I got to pay the damn taxes that go to give them money. I don't understand.
Yeah.
So I think $1 million to the track for the race that they already held. That was kind of promised them before, and so now that it came through, it was actually for the All-Star race that was already run. And then there's $3 more million for the pedestrian bridge. And then lots of other things to the county itself. Unless I missed something. Does that kind of sound about right?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So our tax money hard at work. Don't get me wrong. I am excited that tax dollars go to racing facilities. However, I do get a little bit snarky when I have to pay exorbitant money for things. Because, I'm extremely frugal. And I need more racing in my life as much as possible. So give me a break, people. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good thing that, we give some tax money to the racetracks, but what can you do? I mean, I'd rather racetracks get supported than some of the other things we see, but people gonna profit off it any way they can. That's why there's all this talk still over the negotiations around the TV deal in NASCAR and the charters, and the teams need a bigger cut because the business model is broken. I just think where this is going to go, and I should probably write this prediction down, is that the next step after they do the TV deal and the owners are still pissed about the TV deal, the next step after that at some point, I don't know how long, but where we're headed is some sort of weird salary cap situation.
Yeah.
It's hard.
I don't know.
Though.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a cluster, but the reality is, and I agree with this sentiment, that if you give the teams, say, $20 million per charter from the new TV deal, great, but that's not going to lead to them being more like budget efficient. They're just going to find things to spend it on.
Yeah, you can say a certain number of employees. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's a no-win situation in my opinion. Because it's like, I mean, there's a reason. I mean, they say everybody's in the NASCAR owners keep pointing to NFL teams and basketball teams and saying, well, look at their franchise value and all that. But I don't hear them saying, and look at how they got that spending cap. Yeah, that we want the spending cap too. Nobody's saying that. But in my view, it goes hand in hand. So I think that's where we're headed.
Yeah, I don't know. I think just with the audience, and I don't know, this is not my area that I dabble in life, so I don't understand, or professionally speaking, I don't know. Like, if you got a bunch of, I mean, clearly like rich dudes, because you got to be rich to be in this conversation, and they are not ones to be known for being generous, and you can give them whatever money, but like you said, they're going to reinvest at some point, but they're also not going to, even they're going to hold on to their money. So I don't know the end game, and I don't know what is going to work for everything, because NASCAR is an entity, the teams are entities, the tracks are entities. Like, everybody wants those pieces of the pie, and I just hope that the majority of the fans are going to be able to participate, right, in whatever way they can, watching on television, some streaming, and I know they're looking to do Peacock and all this other stuff. I just feel like I would be truly interested as a consumer. I'm curious how nationwide, and I know our markets go beyond that in Canada, Mexico, and wherever else, but I'm just interested to know in the States how many people have access to the streaming, like legitimately, versus how much. I keep hearing lots of conversation of, I can't watch the race, I can't see the race, I thought the playoffs were going to be on network, right, as opposed to USA. Like, that's, even though USA is a more common cable channel, I still think it's limiting it in some way. So I don't know.
No doubt.
I wish there was a way that make it happen for everybody and that people still get to participate.
Yeah, and I do believe, though, to that point, Checky, I think I heard that all the races from this point forward, the last 7 basically, are all on NBC now.
Okay, well, that would be great, because I feel really bad for the people that and these are just random people. I don't even know most of them, but some of them are in a Newman group that I'm in online, and I feel terrible, because I always post the race, like, here's the weekend schedule, they're getting ready to kick off the pre-race now, that kind of stuff to keep people informed, and I can't watch the race, and it just breaks my heart, because, like, I would be devastated. Like, that's just not acceptable in my life. I must watch races. So I just feel bad for people. I mean, my mom, who's a very fair weather, like, she's not into it like I am, but we're a racing family, and she would watch races. She can't, because it's not a network. She doesn't. I mean, she's literally like, and I know there's a lot of people, and I know that they don't care so much about the aged out demographic, but I mean, it's just, if people want to watch, let them watch, let them consume your product, right?
Yeah. Well, we got to move on, folks. Time to wrap this thing up and get on down the highway, because we're Talladega bound. Someday, I do think we need to do, we did discuss this earlier this year, that it's on the Chain Gang bucket list that we got to experience the infield at Talladega, right?
I would love that.
What'd you say, Willie?
We need an RV.
Yeah, the only concern I have with an RV is that, I guess you kind of have to have something to camp in, right? But it would be a rental, so.
Oh, you want it to get trashed?
Yeah, it's going to be a little. That might be a little stressful. But I don't know what the alternative is either. I
mean, people tent in there. I mean, let's be honest. How much sleep are we getting? If we're going to the Talladega field, I feel like
I will be in bed at 11 p.m. every night.
Yeah, but you'll be back up 2 hours later, because that's how you roll.
Yeah.
And Willie will pass out instantly, perhaps. I don't know. But I mean, it's just one of those places where you kind of expect that. And maybe we definitely have to take a Monday off. Like, there's no way we can recover and drive and all that mess. So yeah, it'll be fun. We'll be good. We just got to keep an eye on Willie. We need, like, a tracker on him. Like, you can put those little, like, things in your kid's backpack or whatever to kind of keep an eye on him. Like, we need to do that with Willie. We need to account for his whereabouts at all times.
Put an air tag, suppository.
Yeah. Well, oh gosh, that's extreme. I was thinking more like a necklace or something. Like, I mean, less invasive is kind of where I was going, Willie, but okay. Whatever floats your boat.
I was just scrolling through the responses to the Jeff Gluck Good Race poll for Texas, and scrolling until I found somebody that I felt like gave the Willie T. Hadley answer. And the closest one I've seen so far is, when I find myself not paying attention, it is not good. I don't even know what he was trying to get at there.
It's like a wise Asian man once said, wax on, wax off.
Yeah. All right, y'all. Well, I guess it's time to wrap this thing up. We got to put a bow on it and send it off to Talladega. The Chain Gang will be ready to break down everything from Talladega after this weekend. I was thinking maybe we should even try to pull off, for old time's sake, maybe this Sunday, if the weather cooperates and everything, maybe we do like a Sunday hot take recording like the good old days back when we used to record on Sundays, y'all.
We could certainly consider that. I think Willie might be either sleeping or big brothering, and I know I'm going to be watching Ryan Newman's race Sunday night. Not in person, I don't think. It's like a 3-hour drive enough.
All right, just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
I get tired on Sunday.
Willie used to have the dedication. Now he just doesn't give it now.
I got to sleep off Saturdays.
We used
what
to.
Was his Sam got up and left or something like that? What did Clint say about that?
We used
or don't give a fuck.
Sam got up and left.
Oh yeah. Well, the thing is, we used to take pride in being the first NASCAR podcast up. We even beat the Jeff Gluck podcast out.
We did. That's Big Brother's fault.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks to all our listeners out there. Chain Gang is on the road again to Talladega. Don't work too hard this week. We won't. And we'll catch you on the other side. Dale, yeah. Be good, y'all.
Bye, y'all.
We did.
Let me see the track. Don't let us smoke in my way. That's what it takes to make a race driver stay. We have a hot charger. That's all I am. Just let me be a hard charger.